I tested positive for an STD, and I can't find any evidence of my husband cheating. I'm coming to you all in need of advice on how to handle this situation. I feel like I'm in complete shock and I can't think straight. Any advice on how to proceed in this situation would be greatly appreciated. For some background, my husband and I are high school sweethearts. We've been together since 2012 and have been married for 6 years, and we have a 2-year-old. For the timeline, in January I got off birth control so we could get pregnant. This was a mutual decision. In February, I got a severe UTI. Got treated and symptoms improved. Doctor's office cultured my urine and confirmed the antibiotics would treat it. In March, I got another severe UTI. I visited the same doctor's office and they said it probably hadn't cleared up and gave me the same antibiotics. In May, I had my yearly OB-GYN appointment and mentioned that I had a bad UTI previously. The OB said to come back to her if it came back. Well, it came back, but they didn't have any nurses doing urine analysis that week. I don't know. So she prescribed me a different type of antibiotic and said to come in if I have any issues. In June, I got a severe UTI again, go to the doctor, and they do a urine analysis and cultured it, but nothing grew. I was referred to a urogyno doctor. I go to urogyno, and my urine culture comes back normal. After speaking with my mum, she suggests going back to the OB-GYN to get tested for STDs. At this point, I'm desperate to get any answers. On Monday, the 14th of July, I got a panel done, and I found out on the 17th of July, and I tested negative for everything but trich. I have been faithful to my husband, and the thought of cheating on him is repulsive. Here's the confusing part. I confronted him, and he is persistently saying he has never cheated on me. I kept calling him a liar and pushed him to tell me who it was. I kept reminding him that I have an STD, only transmitted by sexual acts, and that I have been faithful. I went through his phone, checked all of his apps, previously downloaded and currently downloaded. Nothing. I went through his Facebook Messenger. Nothing. I went through his Snapchat. Nothing. I went through his Instagram messages. Nothing. I went through his call logs. Nothing. I went through his car, and there was also nothing. I went through his credit card statements. Nothing. He gave me his phone and said he would do anything to prove he hasn't been unfaithful. I'm completely stumped. We share our locations, and in his significant locations there was nothing suspicious. Now what? In the comments, although not very common, it is possible that you guys had trichomoniasis for years and have not shown any symptoms. Since you stopped using birth control, your pH changed, and this may have triggered the outbreak of symptoms now. In any case, make sure both you and your partner get fully treated. OP says, thank you so much for your response. Do either of you go to the gym? It can be transmitted via non-sexual means, damp objects being the primary cause of this type of transmission. Did either of you ever use a gym towel that wasn't washed properly, or sat on a machine with a damp seat while wearing very thin clothing, or sat on the bench in the locker rooms, etc.? Have either of you ever tried on a bathing suit without keeping your own underwear on, or wore a new suit without washing it first? Many questions, not many answers. I don't know what to think because, there's always the possibility that he has a burner phone and that he's very good at hiding it. Much like that story where the cheating boyfriend's phone was found on the back side of the toilet, glued there, and he was able to get away with it for so long until he wasn't. But I think it's also interesting that she's had multiple cultures and nothing has come from it multiple times. That makes me think that it's a false positive. I'm not entirely sure. I'd love to know what happens. And now for the edit/update. On Friday, I called my OB's office and asked if there was any other way I could have gotten it, and the nurses told me no, it is transmitted sexually. I then asked her when was the last time I was tested for STDs, and she told me in December of 2022, and I was negative for everything. I did not have anything. Because of this conversation, I assumed she knew I was talking about Trich because I asked about it before I asked for my labs. Also, why would she not tell me Trich wasn't included if that's what we were discussing beforehand? Later Friday, we called my aunt, who was a nurse that works in the same hospital, and asked her, and she said she didn't think Trich was tested for in pregnancy. She had to manually pull up my labs from 2023 and found Trich was not tested for. Friday afternoon, we also both got tested again for it and expect labs to be back Monday or Tuesday. I don't think my husband has cheated, and I have not cheated. I also let him go through my phone, cards, etc., because that's only fair. I have apologized to him for jumping his shit. I also have to look at it from his side as well. He knows he hasn't been unfaithful, and then all of a sudden I have an STD? We're going to start couples therapy soon, and we're also going to bring my child to the pediatrician to get tested for Trich, as we have taken many baths together. If you would have asked me any day before Thursday if my husband would cheat on me, I would tell you 100% no without a doubt. We are solid. Updates. We both went and got our urine tested on Friday, and we both tested negative for Trich. We are still going to get rechecked with urine, swab, and blood to be sure that we don't have it. And latest update. My husband got a urethral swab, and I got a swab of my cervix done as well as another urine test. All of our tests were negative besides the first one. We're chalking this up as a mix-up or a false positive because neither of us are experiencing symptoms and we had 5 negative tests. We're still going to get counseling as this has been traumatic for both of us. Thank you to all the kind people on this post who actually helped me. I hope this will help someone in the future. In the comments, the big everybody says, "What a nightmare," as if relationships don't have enough challenges. A nightmare, and yet immensely reassuring to read. This happened to me 3 years ago. I had recurrent UTIs several months after giving birth and eventually tested positive for Trich. I trust my husband, plus it would have been very implausible for him to cheat, plus he reassured me that he hadn't, but those positive results will sure do a number on your head. We both got treated, and I found just enough internet info to decide for myself that it could have been something that one or both of us had asymptomatically for years. But I sure wish that any medical provider had made that suggestion or recommended a retest. Seeing this story, along with the comments about false positive rates and asymptomatic infections, has really improved my day. I saw someone get fired for releasing incorrect STD results at a lab that I used to work for. Incorrect patient results of any kind are bad, but incorrect STD results can have huge consequences for the patient. Immediate dismissal. I hope this woman was able to eventually see the actual doctor and get some answers. While people are correct that it can be spread by contact with contaminated damp objects, it has to be some pretty intimate contact. Picking it up from a toilet seat during normal use is a myth. And I hope that that dispels some of the anxiety around situations like this, because as I said, it has to be some pretty intimate contact with those damp surfaces, which is very much not normal for most people. So this case, it was a false positive. Seems like false positives are much more common than false negatives, going by the comments at least. I'm not a doctor. And I'm glad that these two are going to counseling regardless of the results, so that they can work together as a team and move past the trauma of this situation. Because if I were in their shoes, I'd definitely be traumatized by this. This would rock my world a little bit. Glad things are going well for them. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the updates, OP. Our next post is by user Stroop, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for attending the funeral of my mother? I, 24 female, was given up by my parents as a baby because they were both 18 and had no way to properly care for me. I didn't have a very good life until I got into college off of a sports scholarship, and it was then that I decided to investigate my past. I found out that my parents were still together, that they had 2 other kids a lot younger than me, and had overall become very successful in life. I started to feel very resentful, and although I almost reached out, I decided that I couldn't. I still kept tabs on them to see how they were doing, how my siblings are and stuff, and when I found out that my mother died, I did attend the funeral a few weeks ago. It was a big funeral. A lot of people attended, but it wasn't packed, and the thing is, other than my hair being jet black, I looked just like my mother did. So when people were leaving, I got spotted by my mother's hysterical great aunt, who assumed I was my mother. I excused myself, but I'm pretty sure I exposed who I was because just a few days ago, my father managed to find me and reach out to me. When we met at a coffee shop 3 days ago, he apologized for having given me up, not reaching out sooner, and ended up crying over not getting to raise me. It's the first time I saw a grown man cry. He asked me if I needed anything from a car to a place to stay, but I couldn't help but feel like I was embarrassing him. So I said goodbye and left, but I received a lot of texts and voicemails from him since then asking why I left early, if I'll meet him again, but I don't feel like I can talk to him. Then I got a phone call from a woman saying she was his cousin and my aunt, and that I should have stayed away because he's inconsolable now, and I'm an asshole for choosing a funeral to reveal myself. I feel like my aunt is right, because all I've done is brought him new grief after he just lost his wife. In the comments, not the asshole. You didn't ask your aunt to out you. She is the asshole by telling your father. The cat is out of the bag now, so I do think you need to communicate and not shut him out. You did kinda bring this on yourself. It's an unintended consequence. By going to the funeral, which was an honorable and right thing to do, you did create a situation where this could occur. I do think you need to see this through. I'd suggest you try and ignore everyone else and just talk to him and tell him that you didn't mean to reveal yourself at the funeral, you just came to quietly pay your respects, and now things have escalated. OP says, I mean, she had just lost her niece and was crying more than anybody that I'd ever seen. I don't blame her for exposing me. She's lost more than I ever knew. It's just that I carried years of sadness at being abandoned. The only thing they gave me was a name. When I found out how successful they were, it made me feel even worse. I went to the funeral because I didn't want to have never been in a room with my mother, but I'd never planned on connecting with anybody. It's why I feel that I'm in the wrong here. By going, I took this situation that wasn't about me and made it about me, and feel like if I backed away, I'd be making it even worse. Stripped Ties replies, those feelings of resentment are absolutely normal. But just remember, if they had kept you, their lives would have been different than the successful and happy ones they seem to have. I think you're not the asshole, but it seems like you need to talk to someone to work out your feelings about all of the heavy stuff that you're carrying. OP says, I know. It would have been a lot different if they kept me, and they probably wouldn't have been happy. But what hurts me is that they never came back for me after they became successful or tried to find out what happened to me. My father admitted as much to me when we talked. I wish I'd just stayed forgotten. Princess Sassafras replies to OP, Sweetheart, from their perspective, they may have felt that it was cruel to reach out. They may have believed that you were better off and that they would be interfering. You can't know this unless you speak to him. It's possible they didn't contact you because they loved and cared for you, and they didn't want to stir up what they thought was a good life. Your feelings are normal. The decision is completely yours as well. How can you know if you never ask? It's possible that it's just miscommunication and perceptions that stand between you. I think it may give you some closure if you decide to follow that path. You're not the asshole, and he may not be one either. Kano B says, not the asshole. I feel bad for you and your biological father, honestly. This is just a tough situation. Your aunt should seriously shut up. Technically, she would be her second cousin. Well, no, she would be her great-great-aunt if she is indeed the mother's great-aunt. OP says, the aunt who was hysterical and confused me for my mother in her grief is my mother's great-aunt and is in her 90s. The aunt who called me is my father's cousin. They are two different women. And Difficult Dot says, your biological father just lost his high school sweetheart and wife of many years. I think he was going to be grieving regardless. If you do need any help, you might allow him to help you out, but just know that there may be some strings attached. The old busybody, though, needs to mind her own business. I agree. I think that phone call from her was completely out of line, and I think it lacked any empathy for you and what you're going through. She seemingly doesn't care that your mum just died, even though she's not like directly your mum and she doesn't have that title, you still showed up to the funeral. She obviously meant something to you. I think, yeah, it is completely out of line for her to come and berate you over the phone like that. You even gave your dad the courtesy of meeting up with him to try and clear the air. Obviously, both of you are grieving. Emotions are high. You're not going to be thinking straight and you're not going to be acting perfectly. Who is she to come judge you? I completely understand why you'd be hitting yourself over all of this. It's never easy to deal with bullshit situations like this, but please be reassured, OP, that you're not in the wrong for attending the funeral of your mother. You're not wrong at all for anything she said about you over the phone. But I do think that you should reach out to your dad and come to a reasonable middle ground on where you two stand, how you feel, and get some more information about what's going on between you two. I don't think you just walking out on him like that was particularly fair. I don't think he deserved that. I think he was being more than reasonable with you. I can understand why you did it, but I think give yourself some time and come back to him. I truly do think he deserves another chance. And now, on to the update. So I'm posting this because I said I would in a month. Things happened and it's gotten better. The first thing was my aunt, Dad's cousin, phoned me like the day after and apologized to me. She told me that she practically raised my dad, and seeing him like he was made her act without thinking. She told me my dad wanted to see me again and would appreciate it if I would meet her too. I told her how hurtful what she said was and that I needed time before seeing her, but did agree to meet him. Fast forward a week, I go to meet my dad. I kept rereading everyone's advice and using it to prepare for what to say. He was more composed. I told him it hurt me so much to be abandoned, and it hurt seeing how successful he was, and it made me feel not wanted, and meeting him made me want to be forgotten. He told me he never forgot about me, and showed me a small baby photo of me that he keeps in his wallet, and told me he still sees me as his baby, even though I'm grown. He told me he and my mum used to cry for me every day after giving me up, but they still prayed for me every day, even until the end. He once again told me whatever I wanted, he could give me if I would let him. I told him I wanted no money or anything from him, and I didn't intend to reveal myself. He told me it was okay if I wanted nothing to do with him, but asked I be a part of my mum's great-aunt's life, as she hadn't stopped asking about me since exposing me, and gave me her address. He insisted that I was always wanted, but he always thought that I'd been adopted and didn't want to ruin my life. And that's something a lot of you said, so I was prepared for it. He asked me to forgive him for not being there for me, and said he'd do whatever to be my dad. I guess I realized I could push him away, or finally have what I wanted. I told him my teenage fantasy was that he'd come to save me from the orphanage, and we both started crying. He told me we can save each other, and I hugged him and forgave him. Since then, I started seeing him more. I visit my great-great-aunt every other day. She's started calling me by baby nicknames that she had for my mum. My dad also started coming to the gym that me, my fiancé, and my best friend started after grad. He's been trying to do all of the dad stuff that I missed out on that we can still do, like teaching me how to drive, business advice, and stuff like that. I also finally don't feel so upset over my siblings getting a better life than me. He also got us both into counseling, and I've finally been able to talk about all of my years in the system before I aged out. He's hosting a New Year's party and asked me to come so that I can meet all my relatives, cousins, and siblings, and yes, I'm going. So I wanted to thank everybody that prepared me for how he felt in giving me up, and how he felt in getting to see me again. I think if you all hadn't pointed that out to me, I probably would have just tried to stay hidden, and I wouldn't have finally gotten a dad. In the comments, Cresties says, "This is really beautiful. Your dad sounds like someone that is good to have in your life, and I'm sure he's thrilled to finally have a relationship with you." OP says, "I guess I really did misjudge a lot of things when I first met him. He really is the dad that I wanted when I was a teenager." Aussie Alter Ego says, "This is amazing. I'm so glad you're taking this step, but I know it's going to be weird creating relationships with people that you were genetically related to, but meeting as an adult. I'm going through something slightly less dramatic, but on a similar theme, and meeting close genetic relatives that you never knew existed as an adult is a very bizarre experience. Don't expect too much, and believe in yourself. OP says, thanks. I'm sure things with cousins, aunts, and uncles will be fine since people can go decades without seeing them while knowing them. It's meeting my siblings that I'm worried about, but my dad says they're excited to see me since they've always wondered who I was based on the baby photos they have of me in the house. I hope it goes well for you too. Have you ever thought about fostering children at some point in the future? Since you know what it's like in the system, you might be able to understand them better and help them. OP says, I have in fact thought about it. After I get married though. My fiancé and I aren't stable enough for that yet, even though his business is picking up. And now onto the latest update, titled, I finally got to meet my entire family. So I guess this is kind of an update to my Am I the Asshole post. But a bit over 2 weeks ago at the end of the year, I finally got to meet all of my family, and it was the best time ever. On the 31st, my dad went to my apartment, chatted in Spanish for like half an hour with my fiancé, as nobody speaks it in our country, and then I left with him for his house. My fiancé said he would come later. When we got to my dad's house, I was like, oh my god. I'd seen photos before, but damn, it's like a mini mansion, especially next to my apartment. It made me smile so much when I told my dad that you have a beautiful home, and he told me, it's your home too. When we got in, my dad led me to the living room where my siblings were waiting with my dad's uncle, so my great uncle, and one of my cousins. Honestly, I was really scared, but then my cousin and uncle came and gave me a huge hug and said they've waited for this for so long. It was a bit more awkward with my siblings because they're both little, like not even 10 yet, but when they started asking questions, it got a bit overwhelming, so my dad made them stop, but I liked it because it means they want to get to know me. It did make me a bit sad when my little sister said that I look so much like my mummy used to. I can't believe I didn't notice it until then, but there was this giant photo of my parents and a baby over the fireplace. Like my dad looked super young in that photo. Younger than me even, so I had to ask, is that me? When my dad said yes, I started crying. My great-uncle took my siblings away, and my dad and my cousin consoled me. Honestly, it may seem selfish, but that felt really good. The rest of the day went great too, especially when my fiancé came as well. Right at dinner time, my dad did a large toast to all the relatives and introduced me and my fiancé. Honestly, I don't know if I can write most of what he said, but it just made me feel so loved and so happy that I let him into my life. I went back to my apartment with my fiancé really early in the morning, but since then, I've never felt better. Honestly, the only reason I remembered this post is because today my dad sent me a text asking if my fiancé and I want to go on a trip with him to Spain in February. I don't know if we'll be able to go yet, but we'll see. In the comments, Typical Management 680 says, I'm so glad you got to meet more of your family. This update gladdens my heart. I also wanted to offer, I know I don't share your experience growing up, but I did grow up poor, and as I got older, I realized that I had deep-seated issues around money, and I would stop people from doing things for me because I didn't want them to think that I was a user, or I felt like I always had to pay them back. I've been working on myself, and I'm unlearning a lot. I hope you're not worried about that, and if so, no one thinks you're a user. Please know that it's okay to receive things from loved ones freely and without guilt or fear. Let yourself enjoy the blessings of others. OP replies, thanks. It might take a while, but gifts on birthdays, Christmas, anniversaries, and my wedding, I won't say no to. As for the rest, I guess it's like with you. I don't want people to think I only want this for the money. Be Cool Do Crime says, so what are the chances that these people basically built shrines to the child they never once reached out to? Higher than you expect. It's much easier to mourn a child as though they are basically dead than to reach out and actually take responsibility. Yeah, I have a sister from the dad who abandoned me, and I talked to her once as an adult. She said that they had pictures of me in their house growing up, and they were told I was their cousin, lol. Interesting, yeah. And I would bet that is what happened in this case. And not for a particularly malicious reason, I don't think. Maybe they just wanted OP to continue living her life as is without them disrupting her, like was said in the first post there. That yeah, maybe it was easier to live with the idea of her and mourn her not being there in your life all those years than it is to particularly reach out and have a good chance of an extremely negative experience, much like what happened here. But hey, what happened happened. I'm glad OP was able to resolve everything and become part of the community that she so desperately yearned for. Beautiful story, beautiful update. I'm glad you took the advice of the community, OP. Thank you for that, and continue being amazing. Our next post is by user Classic Adagio, and it's titled, "My boyfriend invited me to his dad's for dinner, and I ended up sitting there while hungry while everyone else ate. Am I overreacting? Hi Reddit. I, 21 female, have been with my boyfriend, 22 male, for almost 2 years. For context, I've been pescatarian for about a year and 3 months. I only ate meat for the first few months of our relationship, so his family knows I don't eat meat. Yesterday was his grandma's birthday party. They had brisket and sides, so I just had fruit and veggies. Totally fine since it was a big party and I had a smoothie beforehand. Later, his aunt texted that they were opening their pool on his dad's side of the family, as his parents are divorced. We decided to stop by. The pool party was fun, but my clothes got soaked. Afterward, instead of going back to my house, where my grandparents were already planning to make tacos for the both of us, we ended up changing plans and going to his dad's house because they were planning on eating there. At this point, my clothes are still soaking wet, so I'm in his oversized shorts and shirt. I'm also on my period, stressed, and haven't had a real meal in hours. When we get to his dad's, they decide to make pizza and burgers. My boyfriend is in charge of the pizzas, so I assumed he'd make a cheese one. Nope, it's a combination pizza. Burgers, hot dogs, combination pizza, literally nothing I can eat. Nobody asked me what I wanted, except earlier when someone offered me a burger. Obviously I said no, which they later realized but didn't say anything. I started to get visibly upset, and my boyfriend asked what was wrong. I didn't want to make it a big deal, so we went outside to talk quickly, and finally I asked him, "So were you just expecting me to sit here and watch everyone else eat in silence?" He kinda brushed it off, saying, "It's fine, I'll just eat and then we can leave and go to your house." But that annoyed me because we had plans that would have involved both of us eating, and I would never do that to him at my house. Right before everyone ate, I went to the bathroom and teared up because I felt like crap. Hungry, awkward, and uncomfortable. When I came back, everyone else had food and I was just sitting there with nothing. To top it off, he handed me the tiniest side cup of waffle fries. Like 6 fries. And when I said I didn't want them, he just ate them himself. It honestly just shocked me that no one in his family noticed or offered me anything. My grandparents would never let my boyfriend sit there without a meal, ever. So Reddit, was I overreacting? Would you be upset if your partner put you in this situation? How would you handle it? In the comments, it's pretty thoughtless of your boyfriend, but you kinda knew the deal when you ate at his grandma's birthday party. If I was eating over there, I would bring my own food so I knew there was something for me to eat. Kind of sends a subtle message too. Remember they were planning to go have a meal at her relative's place. She'd already drunk a smoothie and made it through one family gathering that ignored her. She was supposed to go have a meal and they changed the plans. And her boyfriend saying it's fine is what pissed me off. It's fine for who? He's completely invalidating her feelings instead of having an aha moment and apologizing. Your boyfriend wasn't thinking of you at all and acted very badly. None of what happened is your fault. But one of the greatest lessons you will ever learn in life is to tell other people how you actually feel. It's okay to say no, I don't want to change plans. It's okay to say I am wet, hungry, and want to go to my grandparents' house. It's okay to ask for what you want. Definitely not cool to host a party and not have stuff for all of your guests. Even less cool if it's your significant other that you've been with for years. But if you were so hungry, why didn't you eat the waffle fries? I think at that point you crossed into the hangry zone, and it doesn't sound like you could be coaxed back. Avocado Slut replies to that commenter, saying, "You've never been treated this way, and it shows. Getting offered six fries when you're ready for a meal is an insult. After planning ahead to go eat at one place when having plans changed. After dealing with soggy clothes on your period. After your partner of 2 years made something that you can't eat, knowing your diet restrictions. 6 fries will leave you hungrier than you started. This is a reasonable crash out, and OP's partner is weaponizing incompetence." I agree with that. I think it's easy for people to be like, well, he offered you a solution, he offered you 6 fries, and then forget all of the context that happened before that, being like, he did make an entire combination pizza, knowing that you are a pescatarian and will not be able to eat that, but he did offer you 6 fries, so what are you complaining about? I'm on OP's side for this one. I completely understand why she didn't change the plans and just went along with it, because she's like, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that I will be fed because I am with my partner of 2 years and his family, they should know me. I'm just going to assume that they will provide food that I can eat, given that I have been in their lives for 2 years. That's a fair assumption to make. I don't think that makes an ass out of you and me. I think it was incredibly rude for them not to acknowledge that you weren't eating and not to fix you some food that you can actually eat because you're pescatarian. But at the same time, a lot of this could have been avoided if your boyfriend had just made some cheese pizza for you. It could have been half cheese, half combination. There wouldn't have been a problem, but he just didn't do that. He didn't care. Yes, it is weaponized incompetence. Yes, he is an asshole for the escalating chain of events that led to you being hangry and upset. I don't think that you're at fault for not speaking up and being like, no, I actually want to go to my grandparents' house for food there. You couldn't have seen the future in which you were not offered food at this family's dinner. So no, I don't think you're overreacting at all. And now, onto the update. Hey guys, just wanted to give a little update and some more context. First off, a lot of people thought that my boyfriend was actively making a pizza, but what I meant was that it's just a frozen pizza, so there really wasn't much he could do about it in that moment. Where I feel he went wrong was not telling me right away that there wasn't really anything for me to eat. I kind of had to figure it out on my own. I wasn't standing near him when he put the pizza in the oven, so I didn't realize it was a combination pizza until the oven was almost done preheating. I do realize now that I should have brought something that I could eat, but to be fair, I didn't even know that we were going to be at his dad's house. I thought we'd be going to my grandparents' house, where I live, so I wasn't prepared. Looking back, I think we were both a little in the wrong. It was just a sucky, awkward situation overall, and I do think it was very inconsiderate, and we did have a long talk about it. But it's not something that I can hold against him for the rest of his life. Also, a lot of people said that I should have stuck up for myself. I'm honestly not a very outgoing person, and I really didn't know what to say in the moment. I know I need to work on that, but at the time, I was just stuck in a super awkward situation and didn't know how to speak up. I don't blame his family at all, because it's not really their job to accommodate me. That said, as a host, I personally would never want to make someone feel like that. Lesson learned. I'll definitely be more prepared next time. Hopefully no one else ever has to be in this kind of an uncomfortable situation, because yeah, it wasn't fun. In the comments, Francophile says, I can't imagine any scenario where my husband would stuff his face whilst I looked on without having anything to eat. I can't imagine my in-laws putting me through that either. OP needs to raise her standards. I can't imagine a house that doesn't have the parts to make some kind of a sandwich or some kind of snack. They were at a house, not a vacation rental. Well, even then, he could have pulled out his phone and offered to buy her something. Like, you have plenty of food options at your fingertips. If that was my significant other, and it ended up that they had nothing to eat, I would either offer to order them something that caters to their diet, or abandon the meal altogether and take my significant other to get food elsewhere. be it at home or at a restaurant or something. How are they both in the wrong? Someone explain this. She's hungry and her boyfriend knew that she couldn't eat anything served and did nothing except tell her to wait for him to finish eating and then they'll go get her food. What the hell? He's an inconsiderate, selfish, thoughtless asshole. She's wrong because? I'm guessing the logic is because she accepted being treated that way. A lot of people on these subs see countless posts about people taking years of abuse and disrespect that they no longer have any sympathy for anyone who doesn't immediately confront the obvious asshole for not doing the bare minimum expected of a competent and reliable partner, which isn't fair to individuals like the OP who likely isn't used to looking for red flags. Jesus Christ, the bar is in hell, and I am so deeply sad for this OP that she would endure this humiliation and utter disrespect, complete lack of consideration from a man that she's been with for 2 years, and somehow gaslight herself into thinking that she needs to forgive him. He derailed her plans to go somewhere she would be able to eat in order to force her to sit silently watching other people eat for 2 fucking hours. I would have walked out after tossing those fries in his lap. What a fucking asshole. I'm sad for OP that she doesn't think she deserves better. Look, a lot to address in this update and all the commentary that came afterwards. And on I Wanna Be Anemome's comment about the logic is she accepted being treated that way, I do agree that a lot of the subs will see people taking years of abuse and disrespect and then not have sympathy for them because it's like, have we not beat this horse 1,000,000 times over? Can we just slap these people with stop accepting bare minimum and stand up for yourself and have a spine? But I guess the counter is people like OP are not constantly reading stories like this, are not constantly being exposed to what is and is not acceptable in relationships and how they should combat situations like that. Some people do unfortunately live under a rock. Some people were born yesterday. I think once it gets to a point for specific individuals that have been told personally a bunch of times that what they're doing and accepting is wrong, and they come back and say, I didn't take your advice, why is the abuse still continuing? And that cycles a few times, yeah, then it's okay to be like, I'm done with you, I have no more sympathy. What is wrong with you? We've told you everything multiple times. There's nothing else we can say. But in OP's case, I get where she's coming from. Like I said in my first part of analysis here, I feel for her, and hopefully this is the wake-up call for her to decide if she wants to stay with this man or not, and how she will accept being treated going forward, because this party will be remembered going forward, and I hope that she uses it as a sticking point to be like, I'm not going there, you remember what happened last time, you remember how I was treated, and you remember how you did nothing. Yeah, I'm not going to allow that to happen again. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I still don't think OP was overreacting. Maybe she's overreacting a little bit in this update, saying that she had a huge part to play. I don't think so. I don't think she was wrong. I don't think she should be blaming herself here. I do genuinely believe that for all intents and purposes, her partner is gaslighting her into thinking that her having a bad attitude, being upset, and everything else was on her, and that she was the one causing a problem, and that he didn't really have any responsibility for that, and she should have, I don't know, not been upset, not lashed out, not been a normal human being in that instance. I do believe that is genuine gaslighting, or at least invalidating her feelings and a little bit of manipulation sprinkled in there, because he doesn't want to take full accountability for his actions and his inactions. So I guess it is what it is. Hopefully there's another update from OP in the future telling us what she's decided to do from here, and if there is any other revelations. But for now, that's it. Thank you for the story, and thank you for the update, OP. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to end today's update. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.